The film begins with a young man named Greg and his girlfriend Heather heading to Marina to go on a sea trip. It appears they're on a tourist visit to the city and want to rent a boat to dive into the water and watch sharks. As soon as they arrive, they meet an old man named Dave, who tells them he is a friend of Tucker, the owner of the boat they want to rent. They're surprised when Dave warns them about trips like this, saying that a young man who went on this trip before them was bitten by a shark and died. Suddenly, Tucker, the boat's owner, arrives, greets them, and asks if anyone knows they're coming here. They tell him they are just visiting the city as tourists and going on this trip without anyone knowing. They are surprised when Tucker says this is the best thing they've done. Then he takes them to the boat, and they set off on their way into the sea. At that moment, Tucker tells him about a shark that bit him when he was young and shows him a large scar on his back. Heather sympathizes with him and asks if there's anyone in his life. He tells her he has lived alone his entire life. After a short time, they reach a specific spot in the sea. There, Tucker throws shark bait into the water to attract them around the boat. Greg notices that Heather is nervous and afraid to go into the water, but Tucker keeps talking to her and makes her do specific breathing exercises until her nerves calm down. Then he puts them in an iron cage and lowers them into the water. At that moment, the place is full of sharks, which makes Heather scared and breathe with difficulty. But Greg holds her hand and reassures her until she calms down and starts enjoying the view in front of her. After a short time, they return to the boat, happy, and tell Tucker it was a fun experience. But suddenly, Tucker pulls a knife from his pocket, stabs Greg with it, and throws him into the water. Then he looks at Heather with a terrifying gaze and welcomes her to the boat. Heather is horrified by what happened and keeps screaming. In another place, we see a girl named Zephyr coming out of the supermarket. When she goes to her car, she meets a young man named Moses, who asks her for a jump start for his car's battery because it's dead. Zephyr agrees and goes with him to his car. On the way, they get to know each other, and we learn that Moses works as a real estate broker, while Zephyr is a nomad who constantly travels between cities. She lives in her car, has no home, and has no family. When they reach the car, Zephyr learns that Moses loves surfing like her, and it's clear that mutual attraction starts to form between them. They go to Moses' house and spend the night together. It appears Moses is happy with Zephyr's presence and goes to prepare food for them to have dinner together. But after he prepares the food, he is surprised to find that Zephyr has left him and gone. While she's on her way, she notices the waves are very high, so she decides to go surfing, which she loves. But she forgets the key to her swimming gear box, so she looks around and finds a van parked in front of her. She goes toward it to look for something to open the box with. Suddenly, Tucker appears in front of her and gives her a key she can use to open the gearbox. But he asks her why she came alone. She tells him she is always alone and has no one with her. He wishes her a good time, leaves her, and walks away. Then she gets a message from Moses asking where she is. She tells him she went to the beach and is going into the water. He asks if he can join her. She thinks for a bit and tells him the sea is open to everyone. But suddenly, Tucker comes from behind her, chokes her until she passes out, puts tape on her mouth, takes her in his van, and drives her to the boat. The next day, Moses arrives at the place where Zephyr was, but is surprised to find her gone with no trace. He pulls out his phone and calls her, only to be shocked that her phone is ringing in the car. He gets more worried and decides to go report to the police. But when the officer asks him for her full name or address, he doesn't know what to say and tells him he only met her 12 hours ago. The officer tells him he can't file a report, but asks him to describe her and promises to issue a bulletin with her description and search for her. The next day, Zephyr wakes up and finds herself handcuffed to a bed. She panics, gets scared, and keeps screaming. She is shocked to find Heather handcuffed to the bed next to her. Heather tells her they are kidnapped and informs her that the boat's owner, Tucker, is mentally disturbed. She tells her he killed her friend in a horrific way in front of her. While they talk, Zephyr tries to find something to unlock the handcuffs until she finds a thin wire she can use. But unfortunately, Tucker enters with food and water for them. They take the water from him and drink it all because it's very hot. As soon as Tucker leaves the room, Heather passes out. Zephyr tries to unlock the handcuffs quickly, but feels dizzy. Suddenly, Tucker enters and tells her she will lose consciousness in moments. He informs her he put a sedative in the water they drank. He sees the wire with Zephyr, takes it from her, and tells her he loves prey that resists. Before Zephyr can respond, she passes out. After a short time, she wakes up and finds herself handcuffed to a chair on the boat's deck. When she looks beside her, she finds Heather handcuffed on the floor as well. Tucker is standing behind her, holding a camera pointed toward the sea. Then he goes to Heather, takes a lock of her hair, starts the winch tied to Heather, and lifts her above the water full of sharks. He begins lowering her slowly into the water as she screams in terror. Zephyr also screams and begs him not to lower her into the water, but Tucker ignores her and starts filming Heather as the sharks eat her. Then he turns the camera toward Zephyr and films her as she is terrified, scared, and crying. After Heather dies, Tucker takes Zephyr and locks her in the room. Meanwhile, he celebrates what he did, drinking and dancing strangely. When he's done, he takes the lock of hair he got from Heather and puts it in the box with the videotape he recorded. Then he places the tape in a cabinet full of similar videotapes. The next day, Tucker enters Zephyr's room and gives her food, but she knocks the food away with her feet and tells him he is a sick person. Her words don't affect him at all. He tells her he is obsessed with sharks and must feed them constantly. He leaves her and exits the room. At that moment, Zephyr notices a bucket in front of her on the floor. She breaks the bucket's handle and makes a sharp tool from it. After a short time, Tucker returns with a syringe containing a sedative and approaches Zephyr while she's lying down to inject her. But Zephyr tricks him and stabs him in the neck with the bucket handle. Tucker falls, and his head hits the bed behind him, causing him to lose consciousness. Zephyr moves quickly, takes the handcuff key from him, and unlocks herself. But when she approaches him to take the knife he has, she is shocked to find him waking up and grabbing her hand. She hits him and runs out of the room. Tucker gets up to catch her before she locks the door on him. She runs from him quickly and climbs the stairs to reach the boat's deck. Tucker runs after her and manages to inject her with the sedative, but she hits him again and continues her way until she reaches a control cabin. There, she tries to contact the Coast Guard to ask for help, but is shocked to find the transmitter broken. She notices a nearby ship and keeps calling and screaming as loud as she can. At that moment, the sedative starts to take effect, and she feels dizzy. Suddenly, Tucker appears in front of her and approaches her. She grabs a camera to defend herself. Tucker asks her to put the camera back, but Zephyr throws it into the water and jumps into the water herself. She swims with all her strength until she loses consciousness. Tucker pulls her back to the boat with a hook. The next day, we see the rescue team searching for Zephyr. Meanwhile, Moses keeps thinking about how he can find her. Suddenly, an idea comes to his mind, and he opens an app designed for surfers. We learn that this app tracks wave movements on all beaches to help surfers know when the waves are high. At that moment, Moses sees Zephyr's car passing on the road, followed by Tucker's van on the same road, but in the opposite direction. He searches online for the name of Tucker's company he saw in the van until he learns that Tucker rents his boat for sea trips. He calls and asks if he saw Zephyr the previous night, but finds the phone off. He decides to go to the marina to meet Tucker himself. At the same time, Tucker has returned to marina and gets off the boat, so angry that he ignores Dave talking to him, leaves him, and goes to buy a new camera to replace the one Zephyr threw into the water. On the other hand, Moses reaches Tucker's boat and keeps knocking on the control cabin door, but no one answers. He decides to leave, but hears a sound coming from below the deck. He puts his ear to the floor and hears Zephyr trying to free herself from the handcuffs. He breaks the door's glass and follows the sound until he opens the room's door and is shocked to find Zephyr in front of him. As soon as he removes the tape from her mouth, she tells him she is kidnapped and asks him to call the police quickly. Moses goes to the boat's deck to get a signal and call the police, but suddenly Tucker appears and knocks him to the ground. Moses tries to defend himself and call the police at the same time, but fails because Tucker hits it with a hook and pushes him away from the phone. Tucker grabs the phone and quickly ends the call. Then he approaches Moses to hit him. Moses surprises him with a strong blow, knocking him to the ground, and tries to choke him, nearly killing him. But suddenly, Dave enters and hits Moses on the head, causing him to pass out. Then Dave hears Zephyr screaming and asking for help. Before he can process what's happening, Tucker hits him in the head with a hook and kills him. After this, Moses wakes up and finds himself tied to the bed next to Zephyr. She asks if he managed to report to the police. He apologizes and tells her he didn't have time. She thanks him for trying to help her. At that moment, Tucker enters and sedates both of them. When they wake up, they find themselves tied on the boat's deck. Tucker cuts a lock of Moses' hair, keeps it, and lifts him with the winch to lower him into the sea for the sharks to eat. Moses is terrified when he sees the sharks below him and keeps screaming loudly. But Zephyr asks him to calm down and not move at all, so the sharks won't attack him. Moses follows her advice, calms down, and stays still. Indeed, the sharks pass by him and leave without touching him. At that moment, Tucker gets annoyed and angry, stabs Moses with a knife to make him bleed, so the sharks smell the blood and attack him. But suddenly, Tucker stops the winch before lowering Moses into the water because he hears a plane approaching. He takes Zephyr and Moses and quickly returns them to the room. He keeps watching the plane until it moves away from the boat. At the same time, we see Zephyr looking at Moses, who is unconscious. She appears sad and guilty because she is the reason for what happened to him. She decides to break her finger to slip her hand out of the handcuffs and free herself. But when she tries to pull her hand out, she still can't. So she bites her finger hard until she cuts it off. Then Tucker comes to sedate Zephyr, but is shocked to find her bed empty. Suddenly, Zephyr appears from behind the door, quickly exits the room, and locks the door on him. Tucker moves quickly and tries to open the room's window to escape. Meanwhile, Zephyr reaches a control cabin and tries to start the boat to return to the shore. But Tucker has already escaped the room and cuts off the boat's entire electrical panel. Zephyr feels frustrated and thinks she has lost hope of escaping. But suddenly, she notices a nearby island. She runs quickly, grabs a flare, lights it, and sends a distress signal. At that moment, Tucker comes from behind to grab her, but she swings the flare toward him, unfortunately missing him. She runs quickly and hides in the kitchen, grabbing a pan to break the kitchen window and escape. But her clothes get caught in the window, and Tucker manages to reach her, pulling her down hard. Then he attacks her to stab her with the knife he has. But Zephyr hits him hard with the pan and, at the same time, stabs him in the hand with a knife. She jumps into the water and swims quickly toward the island. Tucker takes a dinghy and goes after her to catch her before she reaches the island. He manages to grab her on the shore, puts his hand over her mouth so no one hears her, and keeps choking her until she passes out. After a short time, Zephyr wakes up and finds herself hanging from the winch. Moses is handcuffed to a chair, clearly scared for Zephyr but unable to do anything. Suddenly, a massive shark appears in the water. Tucker is thrilled and tells him this is the show he has always wanted. He goes to the winch control panel and lowers Zephyr into water. Zephyr tries to overcome her fear and calm herself. Tucker grabs a camera and films her. As the shark approaches Zephyr, she kicks it with her legs and pushes it away. Tucker gets angry, grabs a spear, and attacks the shark to provoke it into eating Zephyr. But the shark grabs the spear from Tucker and throws him into the water. Zephyr takes a spear and prepares to defend herself if the shark attacks her. But the shark dives into the water and disappears. Zephyr seizes the opportunity, hooks the spear onto the winch's hook, and climbs the spear to reach the hook and free herself. At that moment, Tucker films her, enjoying her suffering and pain. But he is shocked when Zephyr cuts the rope and falls into the water. Suddenly, she finds herself face to face with a massive shark. She stands still and doesn't move at all until the shark passes by her without attacking. Then she manages to climb back onto the boat and sees Tucker looking for her in the water. As soon as he realizes she is standing behind him, she shoots him in the chest with an arrow. Tucker falls into the water and tries to swim quickly to return to the boat before the shark eats him. But the shark suddenly emerges from the water, grabs Tucker, and leaps up in a terrifying scene before diving back into the water after tearing Tucker's body in half. At that moment, Zephyr films Tucker as he filmed his victims. The shark comes and pulls the other half of Tucker's body, takes it, and leaves. But the rope wraps around Zephyr's leg and pulls her into the water. Moses panics and keeps calling for Zephyr until he passes out. Moments later, Zephyr emerges from the water after managing to free herself. She finds Tucker's body in front of her, moves away from it, and quickly returns to the control cabin. As soon as she arrives, she tries to wake Moses but to no avail. At that moment, she sees a boat passing in front of them. She runs quickly, lights a flare, stands at the top of the boat, and keeps waving to the other boat to come rescue them. Fortunately, the other boat's captain sees her and moves toward her. Zephyr returns to Moses, tries to wake him, and begs him to stay alive because she loves him. At that moment, Moses wakes up and tells her he loves her too, and the film ends. Thanks for watching.